of Johannesburg. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Floyd Brink. I'm the city manager for the city of Johannesburg. Mine is just really to give you an indication of the report back in terms of the annual report for the year 2021-2022. And I would want us to start by indicating in that particular year, it was what we refer to as unprecedented times within the city of Johannesburg. Was one of our former executive mayors, something that we have never seen or heard of in the city of Johannesburg. And all of these particular changes and after effects of COVID linked to issues of the economy and the performance of the economy all led to some level of and form of instability within the city of Johannesburg. So here we will focus on the accountability part of what is the framework that we are looking at and what is it that we would want to take forward and say to our stakeholders out there today, linked to the performance report that we will be giving you throughout the day. But I think more importantly is that already it's actual performance that has been audited by the Auditor General or your internal audit departments within the city and its entities. For me, what is more important, Chair, on the next slide, you'll see that we are starting with the importance of accountability. So accountability, in this case, we are talking about responsibility as well. What is it that we want to do differently? What is it that we want to do to ensure we have a high level of transparency and integrity within our systems? What is it that we must do to build the trust between the city, its stakeholders, our investors, and any of our residents out there, because we need to change the way we are being viewed, but also at the same time change the daily lived experience of the residents. But that can only happen through continuous improvement within our systems, our processes, and a high level of decision making in order for us to improve performance. The next slide looks at our accountability framework with 4 key components, which is a very simple and a simplified framework that we have. It links to issues of clear responsibilities and roles, transparency, monitoring and evaluation, and consequences and enforcement. But linked to this through the executive management team, the EMT, which is the highest decision-making body within the administration of the city of Joburg, we will be having a strategic management impact plan within the next month or so, which will clearly dictate to our executives what it is that we would want them to achieve within a specific period and how to hold them accountable. I will now quickly dig into some of the components or all 4 of the components of that accountability framework. So the first one is really the clear roles and responsibilities. And I think we would then agree that if we have clarity that leads to better performance, so as and when officials are clear in terms of what is expected from them, if they know that they're going to be held accountable from the lowest to the highest level and vice versa, that should then automatically then start to improve performance as well. We need to reduce our confusion and duplication of effort. So here and there you'll get that we are looking at what is it that we can do differently to have some form of horizontal and vertical integration. So PZ, that links to greening and beautification of the city. But some of grass cutting is also done by JRA as well as City Power. The same with certain IT functions. And there's quite a few where we have seen that we need to do a horizontal functioning first, and then that will then link in the political space in terms of a vertical integration as we are moving forward. Enhanced communication. Communication is quite key to us. We've learned in the past that we will always be attacked through toe-to-toe in terms of the media space. And we are setting up a team that will focus specifically on enhanced communication, specifically when it comes to issues of peddling lies, misrepresentation of facts and figures and things like that. And that is only meant to ensure that whatever it is that our communities, our residents, our stakeholders and investors read about the city of Johannesburg, for it to be a true reflection and not for us to play in that particular space. Better decision making is only possible as and when we are clear in terms of the roles and responsibilities. The next component links to transparency and disclosure. We would want to work with you as community members, as businesses, as investors, in order for us to ensure that whatever it is that we do that is in the public space or within the council space, that we work with you and avail these particular reports, particular documents, and always then have a high level of public participation in our documents. Why do we want this? One, to improve customer satisfaction as we move forward. We would want to make sure that we have that level of inclusiveness and that your voices are heard throughout our IDP processes and whatever it is that we are doing within the city of Joburg through your ward committees and the structures that we do have. So the city should provide opportunities for us to be able to provide you with feedback. And whether it's good feedback or bad feedback, as long as we are transparent in our approaches and we then move towards continuous improvement in whatever it is that we are doing. From an M&E, the component, there we will be clear in terms of the performance indicators. I've spoken about the strategic management impact plan. There we will have specific indicators that will be in your IDPs and business plans of either the city as a core or into our entities. But Chairperson, those ones we want to start to single them out and start to focus on specific areas, let's say potholes, issues of illegal connections, and so forth. And as we are moving forward, if we look at the finances of the city, we must be honest and open and state to you, we are running a tight ship on it. We will be having different war rooms that will be looking at issues of billing as well as collection. So we will look at key customers. We will then start to look at large power users and so forth and start to improve our relationship with them. As I'm speaking to you today we will be seeing one of our stakeholders or key stakeholders within the Sandton area and the business district there starting to resolve some of the issues with regard to billing. So we've got key account managers that will start to focus on those things so that we then start to ensure that one, our billing is correct and accurate in order for us then to bill the client correctly and in order for us then to collect the money as well. Consequences and enforcement. Urgency is quite key in establishing consequences within the city. We will be looking at our disciplinary board. It's something that came out throughout MPAC. We will be restructuring it in line with what the financial management regulations or financial misconduct regulations are stating in order for us to ensure that we comply at that level linked to what National Treasury requires of us. Consequence management is quite important, although sometimes I always say it is misconstrued as somebody must be fired. I don't believe in that. Consequence management is not always punitive, but it also includes a level of capacity building, and that's how we're going to run the ship. We will be decisive in our approach. If we find you on the wrong side of the law, we will be acting and we will be taking those decisions and be quite decisive in our approach. Now, on the next slide, whatever I would have said now prior to this in terms of the components, it becomes theoretical, but we need to then ask ourselves, how do we then look at it from a practical point of view? What is it that we need to do? So that framework then focuses on the 21-22 annual report. We are ending off the current financial year now at end of June. So it's almost 9 months after the end of the 21-22 financial year. So the question would become, what did you do in that 9 months after that financial year to improve as you are closing towards the 22-23 financial year? So one, this framework will then look at issues with regard to policies, outdated policies, and then for that to promote some level of accountability as we move forward, training of staff members in terms of clear roles and responsibility, establishing reporting and feedback mechanisms, and that include feedback mechanisms to our stakeholders, to businesses and investors in order for us to be able to open up the door for you to invest in our city and for us to give you that particular preference. So if you want to develop, we should be able to roll out the red carpet to you from a development planning point of view, starting to look at issues of bulk services and so on. So the teams will be working on that, including the improvement of our building controls and permit systems. Some of it, I know, it's a frustration and there's some level of resistance to change, but these are the things that we will have to work on if we want to move the city into a smart city in the next few years. In conclusion, ensuring accountability is crucial for the city of Johannesburg to build that trust, the confidence with our stakeholders in this case, businesses, investors, but more importantly, even our residents. Our residents are our main stakeholders, and if they perceive us not to deliver in a specific way, then it becomes problematic. The city is huge, it's a Titanic, and what we will have to ensure is that whatever it is that we do, we continue to align and synchronize the work that we are doing at the core level with that within our entities and start to look at continuous improvement as we are moving forward. So by implementing this framework of accountability, that will ensure that we are transparent, we are responsive, but also continuously improving our system in order for us to have a level of a competitive edge, to become a learning organization, and for us to make the change that we need to do there. We have made significant progress in some of these, but we are still addressing some of our challenges with the Auditor General, with our internal audit, but much more work needs to be done. And these are some of the strategies and the tactics that we will have to deploy in the next few weeks and the next few months in order for us to even improve our audit outcomes. In terms of our audit outcomes, there's one entity that received a qualified audit opinion, and that is Joshko. So there are controls in place in order for us to move it from a qualified audit opinion into an unqualified audit opinion. But there's also plans in place for those that have received unqualified audits for us to, with findings, for us to start a process to keep them even if it's in unqualified, but with reduced audit findings. And those that have got a limited number of audit findings as an unqualified report, to start a system to get them into the clean audit space. In conclusion, we remain committed to working with our stakeholders, including our residents, businesses, community organizations, our ward committees, our councillors, in order for us then to continue that we change the daily lived experience, not just of our residents, but also the lived experience of our businesses and investors. As I've indicated, we want to know your issues as we are moving forward, focus on key accounts, because I'm sure, Chairperson, as discussions will go today, we'll start to hear of certain frustrations. We will be insulted once more from the same business communities as we are moving forward, either for lack of service delivery or inconsistency in service delivery. One of the main things that we are looking at is a turnaround plan within City Power to get the effects and the negative implications on replacement plans. I can indicate to you we are in the process of finalizing the budgets for 2022-2023, 1 July, and there's a clear program and thinking on issues with regard to pipe replacements and looking at technologies, let's say in the Joburg water space, but also alternative methods within City Power, and also how we start to look at linking it back to a provincial and a national level. I mean, even at that level, they now have a Minister of Energy. So we would now start to upgrade our ways of looking at it administratively and start to work provincial, national, and local level so that we ensure that from an IGR perspective, we start to address those particular issues. Program Director, that is the end of my presentation, and let me thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the City Manager of the City of Johannesburg. We as MPAC look forward to contributing both in the information we receive but also our observations as residents. I'd like to welcome everybody to our meeting today, particularly the people that are outside of the city. This is a standard extraordinary committee meeting, but we have external stakeholders and a round table. So for our first presentation, I'd like to welcome the Association of Public Accounts. It's Honourable Kanyile. He's the GPL Chairperson of SCOPA. Honourable Chairperson Kanyile is the Gauteng Legislature Standing Committee of Public Accounts, SCOPA, but he is also the General Secretary of the Association of Public Accounts. We look forward to your presentation. Thank you.
No, thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Program Director. I was told that I'll be able to move the slides from here. I'm not sure if that's still the arrangement or somebody's going to move for me. If somebody's going to move for me, still fine, I'll direct them. I just hate this thing of saying, next slide, next slide, next slide. Yeah, as we're doing that, let me say thank you very much for the invitation. The chairperson just said, in fact, when I came in here, they said to me, I must sit in that first chair. Then I discovered that that's where the executive mayor sits, and then I sat in the next one. Then I heard when the chair introduced me, he said, I'm the first citizen. Then I say, okay, interesting. Thank you very much, chairperson. Okay, so I can be able to move from here. Will I be able to? Let me therefore take this back, Councillor Rasirute, the city manager, Mr. Floyd Brink, councillors who are members of the Municipal Public Accounts Committee of the City of Joburg, invited distinguished guests and support staff. Thank you for extending the invitation to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts of Gauteng Provincial Legislature to share best practice and tools for effective oversight at this roundtable discussion and to help you strengthen oversight on municipal financial management and accountability. You invited us to engage you on oversight on annual report best practices and on the South African Association of Public Accounts relation with municipal public accounts committees. I know you've said APEC. We used to be called Association of Public Accounts Committee. We changed our name to South African Association of Public Accounts Committee, so it's SAPAC. I know that you have invited us in our capacity as the leader of SAPAC. You will realize later why we chose or we choose to engage you as members of scope of GPL rather than SAPAC. Next slide. Person, allow me to first engage you on the scope of relations with MPEX. Next slide, please. Oh, it's a, I'm sorry, maybe it's because it's a PDF. I'm sorry about that. Okay. In the spirit of cooperative governance as outlined in the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, our address, maybe you can go right up, maybe then. I'm sorry about that. If you can just go after the, just go up. Our address intended to support and strengthen the capacity of the Municipal Public Accounts Committee of the City of Joburg to manage and scope of GPL are distinctive, independent, and interrelated relations, and we need to inform each other on matters of common interest. Let me emphasize, this therefore means that we are here fully understanding that there is no big or small brother. MPECs do not account to scope of GPL, but cooperate to ensure effective public financial management, governance, and accountability in Gauteng. The next page. The mandate of the Public Accounts Committees, whether at municipal, provincial, or national level, is to conduct oversight on public financial management and accountability at their level. This is the focus on which I am going to limit my input. In our case, at the provincial legislature, oversight on matters of service delivery and policy implementation is the function. In the main, there are two committees at GPL which have the responsibility of oversight on financial matters. One of these is the Finance Policy and Public Accounts, which is equivalent to a Section 79 Municipal Public Accounts Committee. The functions of SCOPA at GPL are outlined in the House rules, which are the standing rules of GPL. We are aware that the recently amended Municipal Structures Act clearly stipulates the functions of MPECs. Closer scrutiny of these functions indicate that they are like those of the National and Provincial Public Accounts Committees. Reports of national and provincial public accounts committees are, however, tabled by the respective chairpersons and not to the Speaker. Next slide. Next page, sorry. Whilst you would consider one annual report for the whole of the municipality and for each entity, we consider 15 separate annual reports related to the same number of votes. These are the Office of the Premier, the legislature itself, and the 13 departments led by each of the 10 members of the Executive Councils, who are called MECs. There are MECs who are executive authorities of, it means head, political heads, of more than one department. Some votes include entities which vary in total.